Hey everyone, welcome to the Popcorn Perspective. Like always, your hosts are Jay and AK. Today we're gonna go over Echo. AK, why don't you give us a brief overview of the show Echo?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to give you a overview of the show Echo, but before we do so, just a mild spoiler warning for the TV show of Hawkeye, and slightly about the Avengers Endgame and Infinity Wars stories. This is going to be a partial non-spoiler, and then towards the later half of this podcast, we'll do a little spoiler review on the TV show Echo, giving you our final thoughts and our final.
If you haven't watched Hawkeye and you want to watch Echo, yeah, it's kind of on you. You kind of need to know what Hawkeye is
Yeah.
about.
Episode one does a good job at catching you up on what happened in Hawkeye, but long story short, the show kind of starts off with Echo Maya Lopez on the run from after shooting Kingpin and trying to take his empire down. She's now on the run, and she ends up going back home to Oklahoma, to where she grew up as a child, and we get to reconnect with her family and see who she is as a character and see why she is the way she is, why she has her motivations, why she has her beliefs and her driving force of the show here on out. So I think they do a good job at touching about her Native American Choctaw heritage. I think they do a good job at showing her family and her where she grew up. But yeah, Jay, I'll let you start off. What did you think of the show?
Yeah, okay, so I think I can get to what I liked about it first before we get to what I actually thought about it. So I really like the cinematography of the show. I think it looked really good, and mixed with the choreography, I think the show looked and felt good. The
Definitely.
action scenes seemed really nice, and it looked high budget. I think those are all good things for the show.
What did you think about the touch on the Native American roots, the heritage, the Choctaw history? What did you think about all that? Because I thoroughly was
Yeah, so
impressed about the amount of research they did.
yeah, so that was really fun, right? So a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of music, a lot of different aspects of the culture that I actually didn't know about. Uh, don't know much about Native American culture, but this was really immersive, really fun. And honestly, I hope we see more of this stuff moving forward. I know you mentioned it was kind of gave you a Moon Knight feel to it, and
Yeah,
I
so
definitely agree.
so Jay and I were talking before we started the podcast an hour, and we were just discussing our brief thoughts about the show. And I mentioned to him, so I feel like Marvel has done this now with Black Panther showing a lot of African heritage, giving a lot of love and a lot of appreciation to their struggles and their history. Moon Knight did the same thing. They showed a great perspective of Egyptians, the gods, the pharaohs, and also Miss Marvel did an amazing job at showing a young Pakistani and Indian and her heritage growing up and her religion. I think that's one thing Marvel does well, even with this show, Echo. Amazing job at showing the Choctaw culture. Amazing job at showing us a different side of the Native Americans. We don't see this side, in our history classes
I
growing up
totally
in
agree,
America.
and that's the super cool part about this show. It gives you a different perspective on a lot of different heritage, and that's the strong point of this show, in my opinion. After that, kind of goes off the cliff.
See, I kind of disagree. I definitely don't think it's the best that it could have been, but I thought when it was good, it was really good. But there's a lot of issues relating to like the pacing, odd, I guess, story points or plot points. Do you want to get into the spoiler that way we can be a little more open about what we talk about? Did you want to give like a brief grade level out of 1 through 5, just briefly, just so those who haven't seen the show can get an idea of what we think?
Yeah, okay, cool. So we have a personal rating, and that's basically
Yes.
a stale popcorn. That's basically popcorn that's been out for 2, 3 days. You don't want to have that. And you have home cooked, something that you'll have because hey, it's popcorn. You're just gonna eat it. And then theater pop, something that you go to sleep thinking about.
Savory, it's buttery, it's everything you want. It's salty.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So for me, the
Well,
show kind of
before you give
yeah.
your rating, what did you predict it was going to be? Last week when you and I talked,
You
yeah.
asshole. Okay, fair enough. I was on the very hyped train about this. I thought it was going to be theater popped. That's my own fault. I got really wrapped up in the trailers and stuff. I'm leaning more towards stale than anything for this show. I know you disagree with that, but I
I
have
mean,
points for this on why I think it's stale or more towards stale. I don't think I can recommend this to my wife. That's the truth of it. If someone is
interesting.
asking me, "Hey, would you recommend this show?" I don't think I can. It's fine, and I don't think fine is good enough.
See, I agree and I disagree. I think it was a little bit better than, a stale popcorn. I think it was definitely home cooked. It's on the lower tier home cooked, kind of like a cheap, Walmart brand home cooked popcorn that you buy, like no name brand, no butter on it. I'll eat it. It's something I can munch on, something I can just,
And you
quickly.
want that?
It's not something I want, and but it's edible. I'll eat it if it's there. It's not like I'll crave it. It's not like I go out of my way to get it, but I'll eat it. So I still think it's home cooked. That's what I predicted last week too when we spoke. I said it's gonna be home cooked, but I was thinking more like higher end, like a name brand home cooked popcorn, not no Walmart no name brand. But um, there's a lot of issues with the show. But like I said earlier, I think when the show was really good, it was amazing. But there's a lot of
Okay,
lows.
so
Yeah.
what you're saying is you endorse it, but just not that strongly.
Yeah, I say if you're into the big MCU universe, if you're one of those people who are very invested of each character, definitely go ahead and give it a watch. If you're someone who just watches once in a while, peek into an Avenger movie or a team up movie or just the big theater reaction shows and movies like Loki or WandaVision, you probably can miss this and be totally okay.
Cool. All right, so should we get to the spoiler review? I
Definitely,
think we'll just be
yeah.
able to go a bit more in detail.
Let's do it. Yeah. Off mic earlier, and I was saying this show should have had easily about 6 to 7 episodes versus 5 episodes because a
Mhm.
lot of things were kind of dragged and just like rushed. Like the whole ending episode 5 fight scene was kind of bad, personally speaking. All episode 4 could have been done via flashback. There was a lot of tell, not show. They talked about the history. I was there for you. I loved you. You were my second in command. You want the kingdom. I'll give you the kingdom. But like, we never show why she wants the kingdom. We never show why she aspires to take over his throne. We don't understand the relationship. The only time we actually see the relationship was that original backstory in episode 4 and a little bit of episode 1, where he kind of takes care of her and grooms her and trains her. But we never show why did he see her as somebody that he could take care of. We never showed why he had a sympathetic heart to Meyer. We've seen Daredevil since now it seems like this is the I apologize, not Daredevil, Fisk. We've seen Fisk now to about 4 seasons of the Netflix Daredevil Defender shows. We've seen him grow as a character. We've seen who he is. He does not like bullies. That's one thing that's standard, but he is the biggest bully of them all. And the fact that he's so sympathetic to Maya after Maya was insubordinate, shot him in the eye. Why did he love Maya so much? We never really see why he has such a love for her, like such a respect for her. And I feel like if they had stretched this episode, like the show out to like 6, 7 episodes, they could have just one whole episode as a flashback. All episode 4 could just be a flashback episode of Maya literally just being the henchman, killing, like kind of like what they did in episode 1, But episode 1 was kind of like a retelling of Hawkeye. It kind of was like a Hawkeye flash forward type thing. Like, we're going to show you Hawkeye within 45 minutes. They could have done episode 4 of just why he found her to be special, why he became like a father figure to her, why he actually respected and appreciated her, because a lot of that was missing. It was kind of just like, just go with it, and it would be answered maybe in Daredevil, and kind of want it to be answered now.
So I agree with you. Now the issue is, you're the theory guy. You love theories. You love theory crafting. All of that would have been great, but they didn't do it.
That's
And
what
for
I'm
that
saying.
reason,
Yeah.
for that reason, I think they should have shortened the series count.
Mhm.
They prolonged things. They dragged things on. If this was a shorter series, like 3 episodes, and things went by quicker, I probably would have rated it a little higher. But the fact that they tried to stretch it out, where it was just scenes of just blankness, just nothing happening, I degraded this to stale. And there are probably a lot of people out there like me who would not want to waste their time with this. It's
Mhm.
it's too much. If you don't have much material, keep it short. If you have too much, if you have the ability to create more material, then go for it. But they didn't. They didn't have the content.
And I agree with you like that. Yeah, if the show that they were writing and that they shot is all they had, all the ideas they had, then yeah, I agree. They could have cut it down. But the fact that there's so much more they could have done, there's so much more plot that is just sitting there on the ground. Like, the fact that you and I can talk for about 30, 40 minutes on things that they could have expanded on, things they could have done more on, the character development. Like we mentioned earlier, Bonnie and Echo. We really don't know their character development. They're cousins.
Okay,
They
can I address that real quick?
yeah.
Was there sexual tension between those two?
Dude, they're cousins.
I agree. I agree. Right?
I didn't get any of that. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't know. Those looks and stuff are a bit long, like elongated a bit. It was a bit weird. My
I
wife,
guess-
my wife didn't watch much of it, but when she did watch it, she was like, "Huh? Do they like each other?" That was my thought, right?
That's funny. That's funny.
The thing is, I knew they were cousins, so I didn't think that way. If you don't know they're cousins, you might think that way.
So I will say though, I know we kind of been jumping between good and bad right now, but just the way they started the show, I love the driving motive that they did with Echo in the first episode. But all of that motivation was gone by like episode 3.
Yeah, her motivation was a bit weird. I didn't completely understand it.
Because in episode 1, obviously it's kind of a retelling of Hawkeye and her perspective, which
Right.
I loved. And I think episode 1 is still one of the best episodes they did of the show. I think episode 1 and episode 3 are my favorite. But episode 1, I love the reintroduction of Echo, her backstory, flash forward to the events of Hawkeye, to her shooting Kingpin, and then escaping. And that's her motive, is to take down the Kingpin, take down the big brute, the guy who's controlled her every action of her life, and to gain autonomy. But then, out of nowhere, in like episode 3, she's like, "Oh, I want to take control of the entire network." Why? Did you understand that motive?
I didn't. It wasn't clear enough that she wanted to be the queen pin. But anyways, whatever. Motives change. I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. There was a character that you liked. I just want to get a little bit insight on her cousin, right?
Yeah. You're talking about
Yeah.
biscuits.
Biscuit. Right. So you liked him.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I felt like Biscuit was the levity you needed. The show was very dry. It didn't have much humor. It had great dialogue. I gotta give credit on that. Another good thing about the show, I think the dialogue was fantastic. But there was not much humor. Echo was very, strict. She was very focused on her goals. Her cousin Bonnie, the few screen time she had, the only thing we really know about her is she looks like she's like an ambulance driver or an EMT. I'm not sure, or maybe a firefighter. I wasn't sure exactly her job, but anyways, she
Yeah,
didn't
it's
really have much.
firefighter.
Was it firefighter? Okay, she didn't have much character development, so I really don't know who she is. The character. Her grandparents had great chemistry. We knew who they were as characters. They had a lot of humorous moments as well. But I think Biscuits, he had the most. Oddly enough, and I will say that oddly enough, he had the most screen time, especially in episode two. But every time he was on the screen, I was just like, I had a smile on my face and I was just laughing. He was just stupid. He was funny. That scene where he was driving that broken truck past his grandma, and he just stared at her and looked straight ahead, like not saying a word, while the grandma was like, "What the
Yep.
hell?" Did you? That had me dying. That
Right.
is. I think I don't know. I just think Biscuits was just such a fun fun character in the show, and I really want to see more of
Okay.
him. But I know you didn't like him. Why not?
Okay, no. So, when I had told you I didn't like him, that was I think I saw in episode 3.
Yeah.
Um, episode 5, I thought he was good, and it could just be the directing. I think the actor himself is a good actor because you're right. That scene was humorous. But those are the kind of jokes I wanted the show to have more of, where it's more subtle, it's a little bit more unexpected.
Yeah.
To me, that's humorous and a dark show. Um, I felt, though, in scenes and episodes earlier, like episode 2, he was just, oh, sorry, can you hear me a bit better?
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's perfect.
Okay, cool. So, with Biscuit, I think he is humorous at times, and I agree with you. Towards episode 5, I liked his character a bit more. When I told you I didn't like him, it was kind of episode 3, I believe. So, the reason I didn't like him during those initial episodes was he felt like an over actor in a sense, even though I think he's a good actor, and I think it could just be the direction and the way they were trying to go with the character and trying to find his place.
Hmm.
A lot of the scenes he just felt at a level 10 or 11 when the scene probably deserved more like a level 7. I think he just needed to tone it down a bit.
But I think that's who he is, and he kind of reminds me of like personally like my everyday life. I'm just that loud, just carefree, just I don't give a crap what goes on. I'm just gonna crack a joke over the dumbest thing. Sometimes it could be the most serious thing that's going on, and my dumb ass would actually crack a joke about it, and I liked it. He reminded me of me, and I actually enjoyed his character a lot. Just a dumb, go-lucky, carefree
Yeah, I
guy.
can see that. But I didn't like the overacting at times, and that was my biggest criticism to his character.
I will say his
Um,
introduction on episode one, where he like sees Maya pulling into their old home, that kind of took me out. He was like the way he just like jumped and like was so excited, went to hug her, and I was like, wait, who is this guy? I think
So-
they introduced him slightly better, like in the prologue in the first episode. It would have made better sense for how he was at the end episode. I mean, at the end of episode one. But thoroughly, I enjoyed his character a lot.
Okay, cool. So I'm glad you touched on something here. And this is one of my notes. Outside of the killing and the gore, I don't feel this show deserves a mature rating.
It does.
What I mean by that is the themes are not mature enough. If you're marketing it to a mature audience, there is not enough depth to any of the characters or any of the storyline for it to be considered mature outside of the killing.
Yeah, like you
And
had
that's
a
what
little
bothered
bit.
me.
You had a little bit of like the mature rating with like a brief like sexual assault that happened in the first episode where one of the goons that Fisk Kingpin sent Maya to, one of her first I guess killings that she went through. One of the security guards kind of like sexually assaulted her. I understand that's kind of a mature rating, so I understand that, but that was not necessary.
Okay.
They just take that scene
Yeah,
out, and
they could have removed it. Yeah.
yeah, or they had a couple of shots where like they shoot somebody and you see like his blood spray against the wall, or you can hear like a bone crack, which was amazing. That scene where she cracked that guy's back with her leg.
Right.
That's not amazing, but they we've had 13 years now, 14 years of MCU Marvel that has like
Right.
death and killings that were pretty brutal. Like look at the whole Thanos Iron Man, no, not yeah, Thanos, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor fight, and towards the end of Endgame before the portals happened. That was a pretty brutal, gruesome, depth fight. That could easily have been a mature. If it was on TV, that would have been way too mature itself. Like
Yeah.
they could
And
have.
I'm okay. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No. You continue.
Yeah, my biggest gripe of it was your marketing is mature, the themes are not mature. At that point, there's no point of it being mature outside of
Yeah.
you trying to be different.
Like there was no language. Like I didn't hear. Like I don't think there was one curse word that could have pushed it to be mature. I didn't think there's any.
Yeah,
There wasn't. There's like the grandpa was making sexual advancements to the grandma jokingly and in a joking manner. But
Yeah.
that was all like. I mean, that was all just like jokes that Marvel has done in the past. I mean,
exactly.
there was
If not
nothing,
Marvel, then other shows have done it.
exactly. There was nothing like gritty about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. The action sequences when they were great, they were amazing
Yeah,
and gritty. But one or two action scenes in the whole show didn't really justify a mature spotlight rating that they hyped up, and I'm not sure if that was just their way of trying to drive people in to seats, saying, "Oh, it's our first ever mature content in the MCU."
the show, maybe we both agree, had its shortcomings. Are there anything that we can take from it? I know the end credit scene, maybe
Yeah.
Fisk being mayor. Anything else that we can possibly take as
Well,
excitement?
let's talk about that because you're correct. That whole Fisk Mayor end credit scene, that was fantastic. I thoroughly want to see where they go, and I know that's most likely going to be leading into that new Daredevil Born Again TV show that they're rewriting as we speak. Do you have any theories or any predictions on where that will go, where that will lead in the future of the MCU?
Are you asking me how Fisk being mayor would affect it, or
Yeah,
where
yeah.
Daredevil would go?
No, I apologize. Yeah, how would Fisk being mayor, how would that change, I guess, the whole New York landscape? Because we have a lot of heroes located in New York. What is your take on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're definitely the theory guy, so I'll leave a lot of the theories off to you. But if I was Fisk and I became mayor, the first thing I would do is I would give my organization access to Avengers Tower, for the sole purpose of kind of like a fu to the Avengers in a sense. Like, hey, I'm the mayor now. I'm the guy in charge. You guys were here. You left. This is my town.
Yeah. And I think that would be quite interesting, especially like you have Spider-Man in New York. Obviously, it seems like, and we didn't touch on this much, and I'll briefly mention it. I'm not sure if you paid attention to the timeline, because on the Disney Plus app, they actually have a timeline of all the MCU movies on where each thing fits in the timeline. The Defenders, all of Netflix Defenders catalog, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Punisher, in the Defender TV show, has now all been added into the timeline, recanonizing them. Echo actually grouped in with the Defenders, so there's a subcategory on Disney Plus with Defenders. Echo is in that. So that means we have like 6 other heroes now in New York. We have Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Punisher, Daredevil, Maya, now Echo,
Do
and
you
Spider-Man. So
do you think they'll bring back Iron Fist or no?
the thing is, the show season 1 was horrendous. Season 2 was a lot better. Still not a good show, But there's one character from two and season one that if they do bring him back, I don't care if they say Danny died. That's the Iron Fist guy, Danny Rand. I don't care if they kill him off. Sadly, I know it's kind of we textualizing the context of the show, but Colleen Rigg. I'm not sure if you. Did you see the show Iron Fist?
Briefly, I couldn't get into it.
No, I mean you're not missing out with much, but there was this one character, Jessica Henwick's character, Colleen Rigg, and I think most people, when the show was coming out, all agreed she was the standout of the show. And she kind of, at the end of season two, she got the Iron Fist power. She took it from Iron Fist to save him. I can't remember exactly what happened that show. That show was very forgettable. But if they wanted to give with the whole Danny's character to say she's the Iron Fist, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Nice.
Any other
anything
things
else?
to get excited for? Yeah. Do you have any other things that you're interested in, or that
Yeah, dude.
make a content
One,
on? Yeah.
yeah, the one thing that I wish they answered: how did Fisk survive? And how does he not even have he has a scar on his face, but that's it? How did he survive?
And
Why did they answer that?
didn't it seem like his eye was still working? I know they had that cool technology where he could do the ELS
Sign language.
sign language. I mean,
Dude, on a side note, Meta or whoever's working on that technology, guys, get on it. Do that.
yeah,
That'd be so cool.
that's amazing technology to have. But
Yeah.
I mean, his
And
eye
just
was
as
still-
reference, Fisk doesn't know sign language, so he gives Maya a contact, and he talks, and she sees the sign language as a virtual hand, and
and so
when
does he.
she
He has
sign
that-
languages back
Yeah.
to him, he hears what she's trying to say. Super cool technology. Google, Meta,
Apple, whoever.
Twitter, whatever,
Like
X,
that.
whatever. Yeah, come on, guys, get on it. Let's do it.
That's game changing for those suffering with deaf and those who want to communicate. It'll be amazing to be able to communicate with them. That said, I do actually, after watching the show, I do gotta give it credit. It did a lot for sign language, and maybe I actually want to learn sign language. So I'm gonna give it credit on that because just seeing,
Yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
didn't touch on that, and that is a really good point. I thought I'd be taken out of the show with the sign language. I really wasn't. It was very immersive, and they did a really good job. So
They did
that's a
amazing
good thing
job.
about the show. Yeah.
No, I 100% I agree. One other quick point I want to briefly touch upon before we leave you guys here. What was going on during the 5 years of the blip? So we do know, like I said, that the whole Netflix era is kind of now merged into the MCU. At the end of Daredevil season 3, Daredevil via the Law as his other personality, Daredevil's personality. He and his friends Foggy Nelson and Karen Page works together to put him behind bars. That he goes to prison, and that's kind of like where the show ends. So in the 5 years that the blip happened, Daredevil season 3 ended. How did Fisk leave prison? What was he doing with Daredevil and Maya throughout the whole blip? Because obviously we know he was rebuilding his empire. That's why Hawkeye was involved. I want to see more of that. I would love to see like a 5 episode.
Right. No, that's a good point.
Or like just a 5 episode. It could be an animated show. 'Cause I know Netflix is not Netflix. I apologize. Disney is doing a little more animated for like the MCU projects. With What If, they're doing the Marvel Zombies coming out later this year as well, and Spider-Man and X-Men are having animated shows coming out later on next couple of years. Just give us like a 5 year blip TV show where one episode takes place of a random character around the world and how they experience the blip, and we could just have one episode based on Kingpin and how he. I just want to see more of that because obviously Vincent D'Onofrio is amazing. Charlie Cox as Daredevil is fantastic, and I would love to see what they were getting up to in those 5 years.
I agree because it was pretty clear that Fisk did hire Ronan to kill Maya's dad. It would be really interesting to see how that all loops in. So yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have to be a show or it has to ever be answered. We could just be sitting here theory crafting, but I would love just to see more of that, and I think that would be fantastic and fun to see what happens. I guess one last thing before we go. What did you like the power set they gave Maya? Did you think she needed powers? Did you think they should have just kept her more grounded with no powers whatsoever? Or what did you think about that whole and
All right,
episode
so
5?
yeah, okay, so I don't know the character very well from the comics, so the fact that she had powers didn't necessarily bother me. Though her powers were very similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender, I felt, and the ending of episode 5 felt very similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender. So honestly, it was more comical than anything. Uh, I didn't really understand her powers. They didn't explain it very well. They gave you hints to kind of guess what it is. So they can take it in any direction they want, really. I personally, I wasn't a big fan. She didn't need the powers to be Maya.
Yeah.
And I think Maya, the character, is interesting enough that she doesn't need powers. Does that make sense?
No, I 100% agree. I think giving her powers kind of devaluates her as a character because I think she was an amazing, strong, badass female warrior, kind of like the likes of Black Widow or who's Black Widow's sister? That they recently introduced in the show and the movies. Can't remember her actor
Elena?
name.
Is it Elena?
Yes.
Or
I think so. I
okay.
think you're right. I think it is Lena, but Florence's Pooh character. But I think they did
Yes.
an amazing job at like just showing a badass female warrior who does not need powers, and that's what they did in Hawkeye, and
Yeah.
that's what they did in the first like 4 episodes of Echo up until the last episode. I feel like they did not need to give her powers. It kind of just devaluates her as a character. Just like,
Yeah,
oh, I was
I
a
agree.
badass fighter who took down Kingpin. I shot Kingpin and halted his production for who knows however long the break was between Hawkeye and Echo. And then, oh,
Yeah,
I have superpowers. Not everybody needs superpowers, Marvel.
agreed. All right,
Uh,
man.
well,
Let's bring it home.
let's bring it
Have you
home.
changed your rating after we've gone through and vented out our bad, our good?
I
Do
mean,
you feel you changed your rating, or do you still gonna stick with the home cooked?
yeah, the more we talked about it, I hate to do this because, like I said, when it was great, it was amazing. The fight scenes, the dialogue, the sign language, the Choctaw cultural impact, and the religious imageries and all that was beautiful and amazing. But after talking about it and dissecting the things that were wrong with the show, I hate to say I might follow you and say it might be stale.
Yeah,
It's just,
I'm gonna stick with stale because
yeah,
I had a lot of feelings about it,
you
but
convinced me.
all right, man. Well,
Yeah. Well, what do we have next? What do
close
we have
up.
next? We have. I know we have what? I know you're a big fan of the whole Avatar series. I know that's coming out here soon. Do you have any anticipation for that? Anticipation?
Right. So yeah, I already mentioned Avatar: The Last Airbender like 3 times this show.
Yeah.
I love that show. I grew up on that show. You didn't grow up on that show, so I'm gonna try and do a little bit of a deep dive. Get you a little psyched about it because I'm super psyched about it, and I can't wait. So
Yeah. No.
yeah, that's gonna be on next show.
Next show we'll do a deep dive in the animated Avatar series. Get us a little hyped and pumped up for the live action retelling of it. That's coming on Netflix here soon. But yeah, I think that comes out late next month, so we have a while to hopefully keep the hype going. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. If you had any issues, any concerns with things we said, let us know. Give us any feedback. Thank you.
All right, guys. Peace.